An elderly couple murdered. The police baffled.
There was very little physical evidence in this case.
Door, let me just see what door looks like.
A detective takes an unconventional approach.
I was really thinking, do we really want to do this?
And a psychic brings the investigation into another dimension.
What I'm doing is picking up the energy that the person left behind.
These are the true stories of real cases and the psychics who help investigators solve their most baffling mysteries.
Hello?
Yeah, what's the nature of the emergency, ma'am?
On May 15, 1986, the police in Colonie, New York got a call because something may have happened in the home of a retired couple.
I was at home, I believe, and received a call from the station about a family disturbance on Undyne Street.
I think it's a robbery.
Is there any-
I think I've heard shots.
All units, 1038 in progress. Caller reports possible shots fired.
482. I went inside the crime scene, took a quick view. You know, your first impression is one that counts.
600 North Mont, apartment 4, open 911.
Dora, the female victim, was laying on the floor. And she still had a telephone in her hand. Jake was laying in a hallway. It appeared Dora was shot on top of the head. And Jake was shot in the nose. My first impression was it could have been a murder-suicide. And I remember saying to one of the detectives there, just when we roll over Jake, we're going to find a gun. That never happened.
After you remove the bodies and there's no weapon there underneath Jake, that theory went out the window. You realize that it's not what you think it is. It was a difficult crime scene. The only real physical evidence other than the bodies themselves were the casings that discharged from the gun.
There was no fingerprints, identifiable fingerprints. There was nothing disturbed. It didn't appear that anything was taken, no weapon found. Whoever did this was in and out in a hurry.
There was very, very little physical evidence in this case.
Colonie's a suburb of Albany, New York, and at that time, there just weren't a lot of homicides.
The Cohens were an elderly couple. They were both in their 70s. Jake was a milkman for many, many years. They lived in a modest home in a modest part of our town.
People were upset, they were shot, and the police had no leads.
James Mariani, the grandson, showed up with his mother at the crime scene. We spoke to both him and his mother, just basic general conversation.
Marge Tranowski was talking to her mother that night when all of a sudden it sounded like the phone dropped and there was feet, she could hear feet, and she was very concerned and called the police and said, please go over to Undyne Street.
The first 3 days, none of us slept. We lived in the office, we ate in the office, we worked around the clock, all the detectives. It's an old police thing. If you don't get it within 72 hours, you're going to be a long time getting it.
Through their investigation, the police make a disturbing discovery about the Cohn's grandson, Jimmy Mariani.
We discovered that Jimmy Mariani is a known burglar.
And he had an awful lot of associates and friends that also had extensive criminal records. So he provided a statement to us of his whereabouts during the time of the homicides, and that, of course, was followed up on.
Mariani had an alibi. He said, I wasn't there, I was home. In fact, my mother, after she called the police, called me. Check my phone records, you'll see I was here.
He's home, there's no doubt about that. His alibi is solid.
Having hit a dead end, the police have no choice but to continue their painstaking investigation.
You want to try to reconstruct their lives prior to the homicides. Did he have any financial problems? Did he have any fights with his neighbors or with any of his associates? And all those leads were followed up and exhausted almost immediately.
You know, they got a lot of tips. There was first a $5,000 reward, then I believe a $10,000 reward, then maybe a $20,000. And there were calls, and everything they checked just led to a dead end.
This was a senseless homicide, a senseless double homicide. There was no need to kill these two old people. And that kept us going.
Detectives have reached the bottom of their suspect list, and the case has gone completely cold.
ESP, psychic phenomena, I think we all have it. It's a part of our brain that our society discourages us from using. When Dora and Jake's daughter called me, the case had been unsolved for 2 years, and she was desperate to get the answers of who killed her parents.
I was contacted by Marge